Košice was annexed to Hungary in 1938. Anti-Semitic Hungarian laws were imposed on the conquered territories. On March 19, 1944, German forces occupied Hungary. On April 27, 1944, all Jews were ordered to assemble in 3 major synagogues. From there, they were transferred to 2 brickwork factories on the outskirts of the city. There were 10,590 Jews in the brickworks, and several hundreds in a ghetto in the city. On May 16, 1944, the deportations of some interned Jews to Auschwitz began. Some 15,707 Jews were deported.
The ghetto was not bad. A lot of people not working, strolling, walking around back and forth. My father was very sick, so he was lying on the floor, heart problems. But it was manageable. It wasn't bad. It was September or something. It wasn't cold. So we just didn't know where we are going. And everybody was crying because we lost the house, we lost the apartment, we lost everything. They put us in the ghetto. One day came the wagons, and they put us in the wagon, 80 people very tightly together. And like my father was sick, so he was in another wagon and not with me. It was a very, very bad situation. And there came a soldier and he said, everybody who has one more gold or something, a ring or necklace, must give. And I had a beautiful bracelet, and I loved that very much, like a 13-year-old, 15-year-old girl. I loved that very much. I didn't want that to give. My mother said, no. And he put a hat, and everybody put whatever they had in the hat, and I throw my bracelet also.
Auschwitz was 3 camps in one: a prison camp, an extermination camp, and a slave labor camp. Newly arrived prisoners at Birkenau were divided in a process known as selection. The young and the able-bodied were sent to work. Young children and their mothers and the old were sent directly to the gas chambers. Subject to harsh conditions, including inadequate shelter and sanitation, given minimal food, and worked to exhaustion, those who could not longer work faced transport back to Birkenau for gassing.
We arrived at the Birkenau, and we were joking. We were, thank God we are on fresh air. We don't know what is waiting for us. And suddenly they said, all the women order in one place, and the young one on the other side. So we didn't know what it meant. They said, no, the young one will go to work. And we're standing in the road. I was on the 5th road, right, and mother was behind me. And I said, they are taking the young girls. I turned to my mother. He said, Martha, I am not worried about you. You can work. You will work. And that was the last word, but he said, I wasn't worried. I didn't know where she goes. And they took all the older women to one side and the younger on the other side.
And
from that time, I never saw her. They took us to cut the haircut. And I came in a room, and there was a girl with scissors from my town. And I sit down, and I was twisting my head. I wasn't quiet, She said, Martha, if you don't sit quietly, I will cut you. So what are you looking? And she says, I don't know. I am just looking by the window if I see my parents or mother or somebody. She said, are you crazy? Don't you see what's outside? I said, no, what is there? He said, a big gray something is coming down from the chimney. He said, yes, I see the chimney, so what is the big thing? She said, it's a very big thing. These are your parents. I said, you are crazy. What are you talking about? You don't believe me, but these are your parents. This was the first half hour when we arrived. I was standing in the line, and I had with me a teal lilac nightgown, silk with a lace. I loved it. I was a young girl, and I have a fancy nightgown. And I didn't want to give this up. Now I have shoes, hard shoes. And I hold the shoes in my hand, and I put the silk nightgown in the shoe. And here the SS woman came one by one, checking. She was checking, and you have something? No. But the one corner of the nightgown was showing. And she pulled it out. And she, what? And she threw it on the floor, and I just, big eyes, I was crying. No, no. She gave me 2 in my face, 2 big pop in the face, and went to the next girl. So after he went to the next girl, I bent down, picked the knife gun, and I put back in the shoe. You understand?
Yeah.
I was very, very brave.
Nazis subjected millions of people to forced labor under brutal conditions. Forced labor imposed without proper equipment, clothing, nourishment, or rest formed a core part of the concentration camp. The ability to work often meant the potential to survive after the Nazis began to implement the final solution, the plan to murder all of European Jews. Jews deemed physically unable to work were often the first to be shot or deported. The Nazis also pursued a conscious policy of annihilation through work, under which certain categories of prisoners were literally worked to death. In this policy, camp prisoners were forced to work under conditions that would directly and deliberately lead to illness, injury, and death.
To another town, not to another town, to another country even. There a lot of traveling in wagons. We suffered a lot because we were traveling a lot, and it was cold. It was September, October when we arrived. And they took us to a place where a small town, and they were also barracks, and they told us we will go to a forest and take the roots of the trees. You know, this will be our work. So we worked in a forest. This they take us to other place where we worked in a factory, and very little food, you know, and so it was a problem. Crying when we go home, they were beating us, were not fast enough.
Yes.
We were chased from the house, from the barrack out. We were not fast enough, so they were beating us. But nothing serious. I cannot really complain about this.
You were lucky.
I was between the luckiest, yeah. The evening was, my bed was close to the door. I'm talking about one evening in the camp. The SS man, who was the head of the camp, was a very nice man. The door opened, it was evening after work. The door opened and he came in and he said, I am very bored. I have nothing to do. Who can entertain me? My bed was next to the door, the first one. They started to, Martha, go down, go and sing something. Martha, the other one, you dance something, step dance or something, to entertain him. I went down from bed. He was a very nice man, the SS man, I must tell you. It wasn't the ugly guy. And we were not afraid that he takes us because he had a steady girl for sex, you understand?
Yes.
So we were really safe. So I went down and I started to sing in German. Stanze mit dir in den Himmel hinein. I sang a song. And they were clapping the girls, very nice. Next, who can something? Who can make a poem? Who can step dance? 2, 3 things. Then he was happy. Thank you, ladies. Good night. And he went out. So we had also a nice person. Not everybody was a very, very bad one. We were lucky, you know. I was lucky. Sister said, no, after work you will have a shower today. So we were very, very happy. Everybody was afraid what will be, but it was a good man and he didn't scream at us. We went, it was evening already, and it was like a little raining, and he said, now you are going to take a shower. So we went in, and there really was warm water, and we washed ourselves, and after the shower, we came out, and we standing outside on the air. And he let us stand a half hour, and everybody said, Martha, say something. I don't go. Say something, because you speak German. We don't know what to say. You say, but it was, how can you say to a SS man something? I couldn't believe they're saying this. But finally, I decided I will say something. And I stepped out from the row when we were standing, and I said to the SS man, please, in German, please let us get in the barrack, because we get sick, and tomorrow we cannot work. He opened his eyes big. what? Somebody's talking to him? It's, there's something you cannot believe this, that I would say as the word. He came to me, and on the shoulder he was tapping. He said, "You are okay. You are okay. Go everybody in." But as a woman, yes, very bad was. When this came in, her name was a regular name she had, but we gave her a name, the rat. The rat is coming. Not the mouse, the rat is coming. So we were very quiet and everybody was suddenly very good. Standing in a row, the bed was done properly, No problem. I told you, one I was running out of the door fast. She said, "Fast, please, run out." I didn't run fast, so I get one of the neck or the head.
Rape involving both Jewish and non-Jewish women, men, and children occurred during the Second World War. Many were raped by those in positions of authority, although some Jewish women were raped by collaborators or rescuers, as well as by other Jews. Sexual violence, in addition to social and physical abuse, was clearly part of the process of dehumanizing and humiliating Jews and other undesirable women. While sexual arousal may have been involved, particularly women were used as sexual objects for entertainment.
There was different girls, older, younger sisters, and they picked a girl, but was a little older, and they took her away in another room. It was high screaming. We knew that he was raping her. We was very afraid they will pick us. And the lady, the mother, Ungar was her name, Mrs. Ungar, she was sitting on the top of us, and we were underneath, and trembling that he should not look under the sofa. Again, the girl went, and she wasn't screaming so much, so probably she had already, what is sex or something. And the soldier came back, and he said, "No, I take the other one." And he picked the younger sister of the girl who was raped. And she started crying, "Please let her go. She's 15 years old. Please, she never had a man. Please let her go." And we were trembling under the woman. I'm urinating under all sorts of pain because we were so afraid. So the assessment said, "Okay, I take once more the older one." So the younger, who is young, 15, 16, was saved. And he took again the older one, be crying. And then he had enough, and he disappeared. And then we had finally quietness.
Ravensbrück, an all-women's concentration camp, was located 50 miles north of Berlin. Ravensbrück was the only site within the concentration camp system that was reserved exclusively for women. Over the 6 years of its existence, some 130,000 women passed through its gates. 30,000 of them are estimated to have been killed. Medical experiments were carried out by SS doctors on healthy inmates. Experiments were intended to mimic combat injuries to improve medical care for soldiers at the front. Experiments included the deliberate infection of healthy tissue, the insertion of foreign objects such as wood or glass splinters into inmates' bodies, and the breaking of bones. These unfortunate selected victims, predominantly Polish prisoners, were known throughout the camp as the Kindchen, or rabbits. Those who survived were hideously maimed.
One was Ravensbrück, but was very bad, very fearful, because before the camp we arrived, and there were dead bodies lying in the row, like moved this way 6 and this way 6 on the top, and this way 6 again.
On January 27, 1945, they entered Auschwitz and there found hundreds of sick and exhausted prisoners. The Germans had been forced to leave these prisoners behind in their hasty retreat from the camp. Also left behind were victims' belongings: men's suits, women's coats, and tens of thousands of pairs of shoes. British, Canadian, American, and French troops also freed prisoners from the camps. The Americans were responsible for liberating Buchenwald and Dachau, while British forces entered Bergen-Belsen. Although the Germans had attempted to empty the camps of surviving prisoners and hide all evidence of their crimes, the Allied soldiers came up with thousands of dead bodies. prisoners who were still alive were living skeletons. Allied troops, physicians, and relief workers tried to provide nourishment for the surviving prisoners, but many of them were too weak to digest food and therefore could not be saved. In spite of the liberators' efforts, many camp survivors died. Half of the prisoners discovered alive in Auschwitz died within a few days of being freed.
When everybody tried to get to the town where she was living, I came home and went to the house where I was living, and it's very rich people, and she looked at us, "What are you doing here?" He said, "This is my apartment." "No, this is not your apartment. You have nobody here. We are the new people." So I didn't know what to do, so we went to the Jewish group. There was a religious Jewish group in the town, and we went to the office and we lived there within the house where the office was. And slowly they gave us an empty room, and everybody went to live separate. I found the aunt, an old lady who was alive, so I went there to her, and this is where I lived after the war. Later we met, and we went to Israel, and we had a knitting factory. That's why then it was a different life. It was very hard in Israel. We had no money, we had nothing, we had a few pocket knives, and we stand on the street, and the knife on the hand wanted to sell the knives to make some living, to buy something. We had nothing. Till today, they call me. Beautiful letters they send me. "We love you. We miss you, Martha. When are you coming? How old are you?" I said, 94. No way.